Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is McCue. This is actually the second part of the run that I filmed earlier this week, which is today, but earlier this week for you. And today's actually going to be the first impressions of these Saucony Endorphin Speed 2s. I just turned around, I did about a mile, kind of a warm-up. We'll do a little bit where we pick up the pace a little bit, get a good feel for them, and then we're going to get back to the apartment. I'm just going to tell you how I feel in them, how they seem to fit, how the midsole seems to stack up against the 300 plus miles that I did in the Endorphin Speed 1. Link to that review above and in the description. But hey, let's get into it. Let's do a little bit more running in the Endorphin Speed version 2s, and then we'll talk about it back at the apartment. This log scared me when I sat down. Hopefully that was well depicted in that clip. All right. You know what the deal is. See you back at the apartment. Let's go for a run. All right, what's going on, guys? We are back in the apartment. I am inside from that beautiful run, and we are going to be going over my first impressions of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2 in this relatively fashionable colorway, but we'll just be breaking down the fit, the feel, and just my overall impressions and conclusions on the minimal updates from version 1 to version 2. Let's get into it. But before we get into any of the fit and feel of these shoes, I just want to throw a couple specs at you. You are looking at 7.9 ounces in the men's size 9. You're looking at 7.0 ounces in the women's size 7.5. Same 8mm drop as the previous version with a full nylon plate in there, which is basically plastic as far as I'm aware. You have a mono mesh upper that is similar, but with some updates from the first one. You've got that exact same Power Run PB midsole, and then you have that full exact same outer rubber outsole that you had on the version 1. And I think the general consensus with all these specs that I'm throwing at you is it's a tiny bit lighter, but basically don't fix what isn't broken. And the first version of the Endorphin Speed was an amazing shoe. So right here, we have a minimal update to, pretty much the greatest shoe of 2020, in my opinion. Moving into the fit of the Endorphin Speed 2, I would say it fits the exact same as the first version. It fit really great with my foot in a men's size 10. However, with this one, I did up the size to a 10.5. I wanted a little bit more room to play around with, especially during the winter, wearing some thicker socks. Yeah, basically that was like the gist of it. I just wanted a shoe that would be slightly less fitted as a speed/race shoe. And now, since I've got a little bit more room, specifically in the end of the shoe, it just feels a little bit more like how a daily trainer is supposed to feel, a little bit more room in there and a little bit more comfortable hanging out, doing some longer miles, which I am planning on doing. That being said, the fit from heel to toe, nice and snug in the heel. I have not felt like I've been coming out at all. It does have kind of a firm heel, very similar to the first Endorphin Speed. I think it's a nice snug fit in the midfoot, and I would call the early toe box still a pretty nice snug fit. Don't feel loose at all, even though I sized up half. I went up a half size. And then I do feel like I have a teeny tiny bit more room at the end of the shoe, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Definitely gives me that more day-to-day, every pace kind of workhorse of a shoe. And I might even race in it, to be honest, because it's still an amazing shoe. Like, yeah. So moving on to the ride of this shoe, I do have to say I am not getting that same overwhelmed sensation of soft cushion ride that I got in the Endorphin Speed 1s. Now, when I first tried out this Power Run PB midsole, I was running on clouds, almost feeling like I had to slow down for taking like 90-degree turns on a normal run because it just felt so soft and cushioned and cloud-like. Whereas my first couple runs in this so far haven't really felt that way. And I've kind of chalked that up to basically I'm a little bit jaded and maybe just very used to the softness of this midsole, whereas I'm just not as taken aback, I guess, by the Power Run PB in this new pair of Endorphin Speed 2s. That's kind of what I've chalked it up to, because as far as I'm aware, it is the exact same. You know, it feels the exact same when I squeeze like the sides and everything. So I would just say in general, I think the shoe I've become more used to the feel of the midsole, so it's a little bit less surprising. A couple other factors that may be contributing to this. I did get the Endorphin Speed 1s in the heat of a North Carolina summer in 2020. So it was quite a bit warmer. You know, maybe the midsole is a little bit softer when it is warmer out, whereas this is kind of, you know, January, February 2022 in the Endorphin Speed 2s. So maybe cooler temps make it feel like a little bit of a firmer shoe, more reactive. I don't know. Yeah. So honestly, we could chalk it up to weather. Who knows? Either way, if you love the Power Run PB of the first one, you are going to absolutely love the Power Run PB in this version 2. So before I get into some of the conclusions on the shoe, I would just say this shoe is pretty much the exact same shoe as the first one, with a couple updates, mainly I guess on the upper. The upper has a little bit more of a support system built into it with these kind of vertical gray, it's just kind of a firmer, almost rubber material that I think helps to kind of cage your foot in rather than the regular mesh material. The tongue has a slightly different design. It has a little bit of extra, I guess, in the beginning of the lacing system. Oh, maybe you get a little bit better of a lockdown with that. I haven't noticed any difference in lockdown. And then the top material, I would say, in the version 1, you had a little bit more of a rubber textile feel to the material that was on the outside top of the tongue, whereas in the version 2, you get a lot more of kind of a soft textile material feel throughout the tongue. On the outside, on the inside, it's the exact same as the first one. And only other update I would say is a little bit of a pull tab, you know, flappy little pull tab in case you're struggling on getting into these shoes. But other than that, I mean, outsole, midsole, you are still getting the same Endorphin Speed that you probably fell in love with in 2020. And with that, my conclusions are pretty self-explanatory, and you could probably guess them at this point. I would say this shoe, again, coming in at $160 is still totally worth it. If you're not in love with any of the new colorways, I would say keep an eye out for any version 1s in your size. You can get those from anywhere. I know I've seen some for like 115, kind of around that 120 range point, but you are gonna have to do some hunting to find them in your size. The new colorways in the version 2, they're okay. I'm not gonna lie. I think the very first colorway for the version 1s of the Endorphin Speed are still like the coolest versions they've come out with. I do like this kind of maroon, like burnt red colorway with kind of like an off faded green accent color. And yeah, if you got anything out of this video, obviously like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for further notifications on when I upload new videos. I will definitely be making more videos of this shoe once I get a couple 100 miles in them. A full comprehensive review will be coming your way. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Honestly, didn't know what I was gonna say there at the end. I was like, do I keep talking? We're already gonna have to chop this down.